Yo, what's up, guys? My name's TB, and today we're talking about episode 12, Sword Art Online Season 3, The Sage of the Library. I didn't talk about last week's episode because, to be 100% honest with you, nothing happened last episode. The episode before that was the episode that everyone was talking about because of you know what, so I don't need to mention it again. But basically, they were just stuck in their cells for the whole entire episode until the very end, where Kirito and Yujiro escape because Kirito just slams his chains against the gate, and apparently that was enough to open it because the object authority of those chains were 38. Although the object authority of those chains doesn't really help too much in this episode. Not really much happened in episode 11, guys. I didn't think that there was really much to talk about besides the fact that they know what they need to do now. They need to find Alice, and they're wondering why she is not the person that she used to be. And they're pretty happy that they really didn't follow out. Like, their plan everything didn't go according to plan for them, because the reason why they were in the Swordcraft Academy is so they can eventually become Axiom Knights themselves. Integrity Knights of the Axiom Church, rather. And if that were to happen to them, something would probably happen to their memories. And that theory, I feel like, is all but confirmed in this episode. Anyway, enough with last week. I just wanted to say, why I didn't cover last week. This week, though, this week was pretty interesting because we have a lot of information to talk about and to go through, and there's just a lot of explanation about why things are the way they are in this world right now. In the beginning of the episode, obviously, it starts off where it left off, where they met the Integrity Knight. Lucky for Yujiro and Kirito, to be honest with you, that this is a new Integrity Knight. He said that he, just a month ago, got summoned to the human realm, which even Kirito makes a weird comment about that. It's like he was summoned there. Like, he didn't previously exist there. Like, he was created. Like, he's only a month old. Like a baby that he was just born. But something immediately that I want to make a comment is about is Kirito and Yujiro learned more sacred arts, right? They had to have learned more sacred arts, because this is not something that Kirito could have done before they went in the Swordcraft Academy. Like, we never saw them learn this stuff. That's the thing that bothers me. They use sword skills or sacred arts or, things that they can generate with the system call. We don't see them learn it. They just bust it out whenever they want to. It's like, when did you learn this? We didn't see you grow at all. You just use it out of nowhere. He's like, generate thermal energy, right? So he uses his arrow. He uses this virtual bow where he shoots his arrows. And the Integrity Knight uses also something called generate cryogenic energy. It's like these little birds. So basically they cancel each other out. And I was like, that's cool, but when did you learn this? I would like to have been there when you were studying, or maybe when you were practicing it or something. And they also got lucky that this Integrity Knight was taking it easy on them. Because he could have just used his sword and bam, the fight would have been over and they would have been back in their cells. But he was like, no, since you don't have a weapon, I'm going to use my whip. And, I guess his sacred arts. Technically, if the battle kept on going on, they probably would have lost. But after a little bit of fighting, they were able to jog his memory a little bit. Rather, Yujiro was. In the beginning of the episode, Yujiro says that he recognized his name, at least the first part of his name, because his name changed after he became an Integrity Knight. And this weird triangular shape figure pops out of his head. And I guess it's, I don't know, some sort of sacred art that was holding back his memories. They brought up the fact that, he was in a championship and he beat a lot of people while he was there. And then they brought up his mom, which made the thing come out of his forehead even more, or rather stop the process of it going back in. And it seems like they were making leeway on, getting back his memories. I was afraid we were going to have another situation like we did with Rios in a couple episodes before, where, he goes crazy and he doesn't really understand who he is, and then he just dies. Because his flux light cannot accept the fact that he is someone, but he didn't understand what he used to be because he's an Integrity Knight now. I thought we were going to have one of those moments. And it's always weird to see that because, this person dies from confusion, it looks like, because they don't really know what's going on with themselves. That didn't happen because another Integrity Knight came out of nowhere, and he was not playing no games. He was not playing any games. He shot an arrow that directly impacted on Kirito's foot, and it made a giant freaking hole. He was bleeding, and basically he was like, yo, you guys need to stop doing what you're doing, because you stop messing with him. He needs to believe who he actually is right now, which is an integrity knight. And then some mysterious voice, which we found out right away. I'm glad that it wasn't just some voice that helped him out and then we didn't get to know or see who they were. It leads Kirito and Yujiro through the garden and into like this gate into this library, which makes sense for the name of this episode, which is the Sage of the Library. I was like, who are we going to meet that's close to something like that? They're able to escape for the time being anyway. Getting killed or getting, placed back in custody from an Axion Knight. And you meet this little girl. I wasn't 100% sure if it was a girl at first because, to be honest with you, in anime, sometimes you just don't know. You really just don't know. Her name is Cardinal. And I immediately thought, like the system, like the entire basis and foundation for the virtual games, yeah. She is, for whatever reason, a physical manifestation of the Cardinal system. She didn't really go explaining why in this episode that she has a physical state, but for whatever reason, we do get to learn more about the Cardinal system and about how the underworld got developed in the first place and why things like nobles exist, why the Axiom Church exists, why even the Taboo Index exists. And it's really, really interesting. Kirito asks a couple questions like, well, if you're the Cardinal system, are you able to connect with the real world? And she says no, she hasn't been able to do that because she didn't have the authority. Although you think that she would. She's the basis for the whole existence of the underworld. But no, I guess she can't. But she tells this story, which is really important, like I said. It's a lot of information, a lot to digest in a single episode. But I'm glad that, hey, we have it. We're here. We can talk about it now. In the beginning, basically, there were 4 humans. We kind of got the story a little bit before, a couple episodes back, if you remember, when the guy who's the leader of RAF was talking to Asuna and the other girl that was with her about how everything started, because they were trying to develop a bottom to top, artificial intelligence in the whole entire system. There was 4 human beings who basically started everything. One of them went bad, like it always happens. All 4 of them seemed to be like they were decent human beings, except for there was one who had a tendency to try to rule and gain power. Those are the people whose children, down the line, if you keep going down into they kept on rapidly progressing society. More people are learning how to cook, how to farm, how to do all this stuff. Those are where the nobles come from. Those are where the people who made the Axiom Church and the Taboo Index came from. This one bad dude. And eventually you have this girl who was one of his daughters who found out how to use sacred arts and system calls and stuff like that. And basically she just farmed her ability to have a very high object authority. And as soon as she did that, she was able to do stuff like heal people, use the same thermal energy move that Kirito used in this same episode. Just like she was basically a beast at using sacred arts because she had a high object authority. And once she found that out, no one else really knew that because her job was basically to find out how to use more sacred arts. And she did that. Once she did that, she kind of became a little bit OP. And she obviously cared about having power and about ruling over the people, over the general populace. They thought that she was a god or like a children of the gods because she could do stuff like heal people. And whenever something is not explained and someone seems really powerful or they seem blessed or in a position of authority, people tend to idolize them or worship them. And I feel like that even made her ego even worse. Because as you see throughout the episode, you see the process of what happens to her. She gets even more and more cynical. She even tries to stop herself from aging because she knows that she's gonna die at some point, right? No matter how much power you have, no matter how good you are at the game, no matter how much knowledge you obtained, eventually you're gonna die because you're an artificial floodlight. You just die, and a lot faster than a normal woman have because the time in this game it passes by really fast. So it probably took a while for her to realize this, but eventually she gets the power to fuse with the Cardinal system. It was a complete mistake. She didn't do it on purpose, but she was the one, who was like, I need to make sure that no one gets as much power as me. I need to make sure that no one's able to rival me. That way I can rule in peace and no one can do anything. So she's the one who created rules oh, you can't kill people and you can't hunt. You basically can't do anything that increases your object authority because then someone can challenge her. And eventually she became the administrator, basically someone who has access to everything in the whole entire game. It's a lot. Like I said, it's a lot to process, and that's a fast summary of all the information that we got exposed to in this episode. But I feel like Kirito and Yujiro, more specifically Kirito, will have to eventually encounter her at some point if they want to get Alice's memories back. And not only if they want to get Alice's memories back, if they want to get other Integrity Knights memories back, or if they just want to leave the game, period. Because like Cardinal said, even though she's not a member of the underworld, she's not an artificial Floodlight, there's only so much that she can do to actually help them. That's why she needs to stay in the library. This episode was really good. It explained a lot of things. It answered a lot of questions that I had. But you know what happens when you get answers to questions? It leads to even more questions. Like, where do they go from here if they're not strong enough to fight a basic entry-level Integrity Knight? Then how are they going to fight the stronger ones, like the ones that ride dragons, the ones that are shooting arrows at them, stuff like that? Like, even if they get their swords back, will they be strong enough? They feel pain just like anybody else. Like, any fight that they have, I feel like going into the future is going to be a hard fight. And that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys thought on this episode. I really want to have a conversation about like where the direction of the show is going, and what did you think of all the information that was introduced to us today, and like all that good stuff, man. Let me know what you thought of the review as well, and I will see you next week or in the next video.